Hi guys, it's me Chazza HD and welcome to the race reaction for the 2018 Japanese Grand Prix. Hopefully you guys, after what was actually not that bad of a race, I thought that was one of the best Japanese Grand Prix we've actually had in quite a few years. A lot of passing, even though a lot of the cars being passed were because they were on a lot older tyres. Still, a lot of great racing out there at Suzuka. Great race in my opinion. And hopefully you guys enjoyed it at least. Enjoyed the watch along. Again, thank you so much for that watch along and the viewership on that. And yeah, hopefully you guys are doing well. But if you overslept or just in general missed what happened in the Japanese Grand Prix, let me take you through the results. So here you go. Lewis Hamilton takes his fourth consecutive win this season here in Japan. Then Valtteri Bottas is second, completing a Mercedes 1-2. Verstappen is third, Ricciardo fourth. Great race for Red Bull. Raikkonen fifth, Vettel sixth. It just goes from bad to worse for Ferrari. Then Perez seventh, Grosjean eighth, Ocon ninth, Sainz in 10th. Good result for him. Gasly P11, Ericsson P12, Hartley P13, Alonso 14th, Van Dorn 15th, Sorokin in 16th, Stroll is 17th, and your retirements being Charles Leclerc, Nico Hülkenberg, and Kevin Magnussen. So that, guys, is what happened in the 2018 Japanese Grand Prix. But now we are going to go team by team and review how they all did at Suzuka in the race. First off, Mercedes, as I predicted, they finished up with a 1-2. Their car is just too good. Their car is just too good. It's clearly the best car around this track. You know, Valtteri Bottas, yes, he was under pressure from Max Verstappen for P2, but I don't think Verstappen, if they raced for 200 more laps, would have passed Valtteri Bottas. The Mercedes was just too fast for the Red Bull of Max Verstappen. And for Lewis Hamilton, well, after the start where he covered off Valtteri Bottas, it was a very easy victory from there. But I have to say for Hamilton, this has to go down as one of the most dominant race weekends he has had. Very similar to last year where he dominated at Suzuka. Great performance, and when he does win his fifth world title, it will be fully deserved. And if Lewis Hamilton, guys, wins the 2018 United States Grand Prix and Sebastian Vettel finishes third or lower, then Hamilton will be the champion officially. So we are just potentially one race away from Lewis Hamilton winning his fifth world title. Pure domination from the Silver Arrows. But guys, in the chat, what do you think about Mercedes' race? Do you think they were clearly the fastest this weekend and in this race? And when it comes to Valtteri Bottas, do you think Verstappen could have passed him? Or do you think, like me, that Bottas was never going to be passed because the Mercedes is just too fast around this track? Let's see what you guys are saying about Mercedes. JB, Mercedes is best weekend of 2018. Oh, yeah, I'd have to agree. I'd have to agree. They've dominated the weekend. In Australia, for example, where they were fast, even though they didn't win the race, they did, of course, have clearly the fastest car. They weren't as dominant in practice. This weekend, maybe excluding practice 3, they have dominated the entire weekend. Mercedes are just too good at the moment. They're just way too good, especially at a high-speed track like Suzuka. I think I made a great choice by waking up early. That's from Spider Monkey. You know what? I think he did because, well, the race was quite good, I thought. Ronan Brady never had a chance of passing him. Yep, I agree. I think, again, another 100, 200 laps, Bottas would have stayed ahead. Yeah, Mercedes is scintillating. That's from Oswald Mace. They're clearly proving why they've dominated the sport since 2014. Now, yes, you can say, oh, they were boring in 2014 to 2016 and they were dominant, but they are winning titles because they deserve it, because they developed a great power unit for 2014 and are still developing a great power unit. And, still here, even though Ferrari at times this season and at times last season have had a faster car, Mercedes still, when it matters, perform, get the points, get the results, and win the titles. That is what an absolutely great and legendary team does. I think Mercedes eventually, once their domination stops, and it will eventually, they will go down as one of the best teams in terms of the people at the team in this era. I think they'll go down as one of the best teams of all time in F1 because they're dominating the sport even when they're in close competition with another team. They're not dominating the races, but in terms of winning titles, they've had a clean sweep since 2014. Crystal Racing, please Alonso and Hamilton together at Mercedes for 2019. Put their egos aside and give us a monster teammate battle not seen since Senna and Prost. I would love to see it, and I think Alonso and Hamilton at Mercedes would be amazing. I really do think it would be, but of course it's never going to happen because Alonso burnt his bridges with Mercedes after 2007. He says, I know it's desperate. It is, but I understand why you want it. We all want it. We all want Fernando and Lewis in the same car again, but yeah, that's just the way it is, unfortunately. Niblo, great to see him, of course. My usual podcast guest. Lauder, Wolf, Hamilton is the new Schumacher, Todt and Brawn. Absolutely. Absolutely. And as well, shout out to Ross Brawn. He built this... I guess he built the foundation for this success because he did play a big part in Mercedes being so prepared for the hybrid era. He did play a big part, so big credit to him as well. So yeah, I agree with you. That's absolutely bang on there. Lauder, Wolf and Hamilton are a wonderful trio. E7 suspect. Hamilton has no competition in my opinion. I think he knows he can beat Vettel in a one-on-one. Alonso or Max would be a different story. Alonso, I think, would probably be a different story, but Max, I'm not too sure because I think Max still is a bit erratic and over-aggressive. I think Max still has some learning to do, but maybe in a few years' time, who knows? Lewis Hamilton versus Max Verstappen for the world title, who knows? Right, I'm just trying to read through the chat to make sure I include all of your comments. Oswald, hope Mercedes pull off a Nico Rosberg next season for Bottas. Warren, Hamilton just isn't making errors. Max still makes errors. Max is making errors, in my opinion, because I think he's more of an aggressive driver right now at his point of his career compared to Lewis, who I think is still aggressive, but not as aggressive and erratic as he was, say, in 2010 or 2011. Once, Max gets to 24, 25 years old, he should be calming down a bit and cutting out those silly mistakes and crashes. Hamilton has the experience advantage. That's another thing as well. He does, absolutely. Right, I think we'll move on to Ferrari. Niblo just saying that Max is like Lewis from pre-2013 or even earlier. I'd say Max is basically like Lewis from 2011 or earlier. It reminds me a lot of this season's Max Verstappen reminds me a lot of the Lewis Hamilton from 2011. Hopefully, he will turn it around like Lewis did after that season when it comes to making mistakes. But moving on to the Scuderia Ferrari team. Wow, what an awful race. Kimi Raikkonen 5th, Sebastian Vettel 6th. Kimi Raikkonen had, some contact with Max Verstappen at the end of the first lap. Was unfortunate to suffer, I believe, damage to his car. That's not confirmed, but I think he did on the exit of the last chicane. He tried to get past, but Max, of course, blocked him off. We'll get on to whether that was a penalty or not, in my opinion, with Red Bull in just a moment. But unfortunate for him. But then for Sebastian Vettel, he does such good work to go from P8 to P4 and be right on the back of Max Verstappen for a podium. And then he does what he does. He bottles it. Going into Spoon, gains massively on Max because Max, I believe, was saving some energy going into Spoon. Tried to go down the inside. Max gave him enough space, in my opinion. And Vettel just understeered straight into the side of Max Verstappen. Clearly Vettel's fault. Does Vettel deserve a penalty? I don't think he does. But if you're going to blame one over the other, it has to be Sebastian Vettel. Because, like his crash at Monza, he caused the accident. He absolutely caused the accident. That meant he suffered damage to his car and dropped down to the back. And eventually, after making a pit stop for soft tyres, as you can see there, finished up in P6 after overtaking all of the midfield cars. Sebastian Vettel's championship ended after Russia, but, well, at the next race, at the Circuit of Americas, I think officially it will be over because Ferrari are struggling in terms of pace. Their strategy mistakes keep happening. Driver mistakes keep happening. So how can Vettel possibly close the gap anymore? It's kind of impossible for Vettel, I think, to beat Hamilton at the US Grand Prix because even if they have a fast enough car, they will make mistakes, driver and team-wise, that will negate that and prevent them from actually beating Hamilton and Mercedes, and winning the race. I'm just so disappointed in Ferrari. They've bottled this season. They've absolutely bottled the season. But 5th and 6th for Ferrari. Not a good race weekend. And now head to the US Grand Prix facing, I guess, Judgment Day in terms of the World Championship. But guys, when it comes to Ferrari, what do you think of their race? What do you think of their pace this weekend? And what do you think about Sebastian Vettel's driving in that incident with Max Verstappen? Do you think Vettel was at fault or do you think Verstappen was at fault? Who do you think was at fault? Put in the chat right now and I will read out who you think was at fault. By the way, thanks to the 250 people watching live. Great to see you all along for this race reaction. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe either bottom right of the screen or click on my channel name to do so. Right, I'll read out some comments about the Vettel Max incident and also about Ferrari. Simon Cragland, that move didn't make any sense whatsoever. I meant he could have waited to the chicane. Yes, he could have. Would he have had the pace to beat Verstappen in the Grand Prix? I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, he had the right to go for the move. The move was possible. He just understeered straight into the side of Verstappen. I think that's about it, honestly. Abitza, I think that says, I think Vettel's morale just shattered after Germany. I agree. After that mistake, and you could hear it on the team radio after he hit the wall in the gravel trap at the stadium section at Hockenheim, he was crying. He knew that he gave Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton a massive boost in the title battle. And ever since then, Vettel has not had any confidence at all. That's why he's lost the championship. Halam899, I was too sick to wake up, but did I miss anything? Well, you missed a crash between Vettel and Verstappen. Hamilton won the race from Bottas, with Verstappen third. In terms of the top teams, it wasn't, game-changing what happened at the top, but definitely some movement. I don't know why Vettel fans attacking Max for the collision at Spoon. Are they brain dead? That's from Spider Monkey. I have seen a couple saying, Verstappen turned in. If you look back, he didn't. He actually gave Vettel enough space on the inside to make the corner, which Vettel actually did make the corner, but then understeered again into Verstappen. So that claim of Verstappen turned in is not valid, in my opinion. Bless Tube, that Ferrari did have the pace to be third. Vettel should have been more patient. He should have been. I mean, what was it? Lap 7 out of 53. So yeah, he should have. But then again, the driver's attitude now, because of the dirty air effects of the 2018 cars, is you have to make a move, because if you get settled in behind someone, you're going to be stuck behind them for the entire race. So you can see why he would go for the move, but yeah, clearly at fault for the accident happening in the first place. JB, despite being a Vettel fan, I think Vettel was more at fault. Again, I agree. I think it's pretty clear to see that Vettel was more at fault. And if you deny that, then I think you're clutching at straws, to be honest. Oswald May, sorry guys for the tangent. Admired Toto's management of Mercedes. I believe Rosberg's championship was orchestrated and was a good thing in the end. I'm willing to bet that's going to happen next year. I won't say it was orchestrated, but there were, more reliability issues clearly for Lewis Hamilton that season. Do you think Ferrari will win in the USA? No, I don't think they will. I don't see it. I don't see it. Because even if they have a fast enough car in practice, they'll get to qualifying and Vettel will probably lock up at turn 1 on his final lap in Q3 and end up qualifying 4th. That's just the way Ferrari are. And then in the race, they'll probably make a strategy mistake. Of course, their tyre wear is not good, and tyre wear is important at the Circuit of Americas. So, no, I don't see it. Ferrari bottle it too much. I cannot trust them to do anything right. Even if they had a car that was half a second a lap faster, I can't trust them to actually pull through with the result. Simon Cranklin says, Kimi was much quicker than Verstappen in lap 1 and Vettel was gaining massively on Verstappen, and Ferrari are obviously quicker in the straight line than the Red Bull, so I think he could have overtaken Verstappen. He definitely would have had plenty of opportunities to do so. Yeah, he probably should have waited. I agree. Gina, any news about the Ferrari battery? There's no updates on that story, but I will, guys, do a video on that between this race and the next race in Austin, Texas. So don't worry, that is coming. I'll update you guys as to what the battery is, what the concerns are, and what this whole sensor thing is as well. I don't know why Nando got the penalty. Stroll clearly pushed him off the track. We'll get onto that in a minute because I think I know why he got the penalty. Halam899, I thought Kimi should have got third, but their tyres are bad. Yeah, Ferrari have struggled with tyre wear at this race. They've just struggled this weekend in general. Falling out EMS, he had the faster car and Max had damage. If he waited, he should have been able to pass for sure. Yeah, I agree. Lucas, good to see him in the chat, says Vettel bottled it. Right, I think I'll move on from Ferrari. I think we've said enough about the Arsenal FC of Formula 1. Now let's go on to Red Bull, who had a great race. Yes, Verstappen had a couple of incidents which could have cost him a podium, but overall a very good and well-managed Grand Prix. Finishing in P3, not that far off Valtteri Bottas. He could have got him if maybe if Bottas, when he made one of his lockups, he could have got him, but again, I don't see how Bottas would have finished behind Verstappen. I think Bottas had enough pace, but if Verstappen was going to beat Bottas, he had to be close enough when Bottas made a mistake at the last chicane and when he locked up massively at the hairpin, but of course he was not close enough. But then we have the two incidents with the two Ferraris, Kimi Raikkonen and Sebastian Vettel. We've already discussed the Vettel one. With the Kimi Raikkonen one, I agree with the penalty because Kimi Raikkonen was enough alongside to earn the right to space on the exit of the chicane. Yes, Verstappen was coming back onto the track and maybe he couldn't have gone anywhere, but Kimi deserved space. He was enough alongside to deserve that. If Kimi was maybe 3/4 of a car length further back, I think Max wouldn't have got a penalty, but that's the way it is. Pace-wise, very good from Red Bull. And with Daniel Ricciardo, wow, what a race. P15 to P4, was very close to Max Verstappen at the start of the second stint, but then fell away because his grip, the grip of his car was not that great. So, not a great end for Ricciardo, but a great race. And we'll get on to driver of the day later on, but I think you guys know who I'm going to go with. Who do you also think out of these two? What am I trying to say? Oh no, who do you think is driver of the day? We'll get onto that later on. But guys, what did you think of Red Bull? Did you think they were very good in terms of pace? What did you think about the Verstappen incident with Kimi Räikkönen? Do you think Verstappen deserved a penalty? Or do you think it was a racing incident? And for Daniel Ricciardo, what do you think about his performance? Put in the chat right now and I will answer your comment. Indeed, 300 people watching live. Again, thank you guys so much. And again, if you have not subscribed, bottom right of the screen and click on my channel name. Those are the ways to subscribe. It would be a pleasure to have you as a part of our growing community. Vettel should have been given a penalty for the incident with Max. I disagree. Yes, he was at fault, but it was a racing incident for me. Simon Craglan, Red Bull was good. Verstappen deserved the penalty. And WTF, does he mean Kimi should have waited? I think what he's meaning by that is maybe Kimi should have waited to see where Max came out after he went off. But I disagree with that because Kimi, again, he deserved to be on that part of the track and deserved to go for the move because it was possible. But then Max just came across and pushed him off. Ricciardo had a good race. That's some blessed tube. Agreed. Mark, Ricciardo next season, not any force to reckon with. Yeah, probably. Renault, very, very poor looking in terms of engine power and just their team right now. Hopefully, they're saving money and resources for 2019. I really hope they are. Toro Loco, Verstappen says the incident with Vettel is identical to the incident they had in China. And Max got 10 seconds there. No, I don't think it is because Vettel at China went wide not to give Max space. He went wide because he made a slight mistake. And Verstappen decided to go for a gap which was always going to close and was never there. With this incident, Max saw Vettel, gave Vettel space, and the gap was never really going to close. Because, again, Max was giving Vettel space, but it was just Vettel understeering into Max. Please don't speak about next season. That's a niblo. Simon Craglan, do you think Red Bull could have extended Ricciardo's strategy and put him on the super soft tyre? No, I don't think they should have. The super soft tyre was not performing well in the race. So, yeah, what they did on strategy, I think, was absolutely bang on what they needed to do. What you say about Alonso's performance, that's some F1 enthusiasm. I'll get onto that in a couple minutes once I go on to McLaren. JB, I bet loads of biased Vettel fans voted Seb for driver of the day. They're probably like Vettel went from last to P6. Yeah. This is the problem, I guess, with F1 fan bases is with a drive like that, which, let's be honest, wasn't that impressive. Sebastian is expected to pass all of those midfield cars. Yeah, that's always going to happen. It's just a sad fact, I guess. Blessed you, Verstappen should have turned his car earlier, but he drove across to cover Kimi, so he deserved the penalty. Yeah, I agree. He could have just continued kind of going straight towards the start-finish straight, but instead decided, as you said, to just cover off Kimi and block the track. So yeah, did deserve a penalty. Like when Harrianto won driver of the day at Australia. I don't remember that. If that did happen, then wow. That's news to me. So Honda's new upgrade is a absolute myth. It's not myth. Yes, they didn't score points, but at times in the race they proved that the Honda power unit is doing well. They overtook a couple Ferrari-powered cars, even though Carlos Sainz did pass in the Renault. I think Carlos Sainz was on much fresher tyres, so he was never going to keep Carlos behind. So yeah, I think Honda are making progress for sure. James Hogan, sorry, who got driver of the day? That Harrianto thing, that's just another story. But for driver of the day today, officially, it was Daniel Ricciardo. Just looking at some final comments, just to make sure I've covered everyone's comments when it comes to Verstappen and Vettel and all of that. Christopher Bland, Vettel just cannot handle pressure. Agreed. Ronan Brady, did you see Arriva Bene could be getting a new job at Juventus as sporting director? I have seen that, and I think he is maybe one of the favourites to get it. Wouldn't be surprised if he left Ferrari for that. Simon Cragland, it would have damaged Verstappen's tyres even more if he cut the chicane in the right way, but yeah, he definitely deserved the penalty. I see your point, but if he didn't want the penalty, then it was probably best to just go straight on than block the track like he did. John, Red Bull at this point, aside from reliability, are better than Ferrari. I don't think they have a faster car overall, but in terms of getting results and the operation of the team, yes, they are. But you know what? We'll move on from those top three teams and now head straight into and delve into the midfield. First off, McLaren. Now, in the race, they weren't as bad as I thought they would be. They actually beat Williams, but that's because Williams pitted late on for super soft tyres. So, you know, a bit of this. I don't know what word to describe it. A bit misleading, I guess you could say, because Williams again did pit late on. But what an awful weekend for McLaren. I mean, what were they, 14th and 15th in the race, 18th and 19th in qualifying? Is that the best we can expect? Maybe. I mean, at the US Grand Prix, I think they will be better because I think that track suits the McLaren more than Suzuka does. And Mexico should suit the McLaren more than Suzuka does. But do we even trust them to actually go there and score points and actually do well? I don't. So, yeah, I think going forward for McLaren, I don't see them scoring points. I really don't. They're so disappointing and have been so disappointing in 2018. And just to cover as well, the Fernando Alonso Lance Stroll stuff. Fernando Alonso tried to pass or repass Lance Stroll after Lance, I will say, completed a very impressive overtake around the outside of Alonso in 130R. Alonso tried to go around the outside and Stroll forced him off the track. For Stroll, well, we'll get on to whether it was a penalty for him or not later, but Fernando Alonso, I don't think got a penalty for that. I think Alonso got a penalty for jumping the chicane just after, because if you watched the race, they showed a replay of that and then they showed a replay of Fernando going straight over the chicane and through the gravel trap. I think that's what they gave it for, but I might be wrong, of course. But yeah, so poor for McLaren. What do you guys think in the chat about McLaren and how terrible they have been this season, this weekend, and how they are just as a team? Warren M. McLaren stopped developing for this year 5 rounds ago. Every upgrade is based on next year. Still though, even if they're not bringing upgrades, to be this slow is so pathetic. I've said that word so many times this weekend, but it's a great word to use when it comes to McLaren. F1 enthusiasm, yep, you're absolutely right. Okay. Noah, this is Fernando's last season, right? Yep, it is. Fernando Alonso now has 4 races left in his F1 career, but because of McLaren's crap car, his career is now going to end on a whimper, I'm afraid. Simon Craglan, Stroll pushed him off the track. Alonso didn't have any chance to avoid cutting the chicane. I think the penalty was unfair. I'll have to look back because I'm not sure if it was the same incident or not. If it was, then yeah, I think the penalty for Alonso was unfair. But I'll have to look back at what actually happened. Spider Monkey, can McLaren still hold the position from Force India? Who knows? How many points for Force India? I think it was 20, was it 22, 24 points behind Force India were from McLaren. Now, Force India are, I think it's 8 points closer. So, if Force India can be best of the rest for the last 4 races, then McLaren I don't see holding on to P6 in the Constructors. I don't see it, and they don't deserve to. They've been so bad in 2018. Simon Cragland, imagine if Alonso was driving for Ferrari this year. Alonso would have won last year's title and would be leading the championship this year. I have no doubt about it. Alonso is a better driver than Sebastian Vettel. Ronan Brady, how embarrassing if Force India overtook them. True, because Force India, now halfway through the season, have restarted their team, gone back to 0, and they could still seriously pass McLaren. Yeah, it is. It's so embarrassing. So embarrassing. Simon Cragland, do you think Alonso is the best driver on the grid? I think Hamilton is better. I think Alonso is a better racer, but Hamilton is a better qualifier. So, you know what? I'm still going to give a slight edge to Fernando because of his racecraft. His racecraft is fantastic. But there's no doubt Lewis in qualifying is, well, quite frankly, unbeatable. But we'll move on from McLaren. There's no point talking about them even more. Such a waste of time, honestly. Because, well, they're wasting our time with being so bad. Let's go on now to Renault. Renault weren't looking that great for the first stint of the race, but Carlos Sainz ended up scoring points, finishing in P10. Ran very long into this Grand Prix. Was actually quite impressive, I thought, with how long he ran into the Grand Prix and how his pace was. And then pitted late on and pushed like crazy and got up to P10. Deservedly, he had the pace to do so and deserved to get that point. Great to see for Carlos Sainz. As you can see here for Nico Hülkenberg, yeah, just problems for the entire race. Struggling on his tyres. Was very slow compared to other cars just before he retired. So I'm going to assume that there was some sort of mechanical issue. But at least for Renault, they actually scored points because this 1 point they scored with Carlos Sainz could prove to be their most important point of the season. It could, because if, you know, Renault beat Haas by 1 point at the end of 2018, then this result could be absolutely vital. I still think, though, Haas should beat Renault in the Constructors. Haas have now closed the gap by a further 3 points. If Renault beat Haas, I'd be surprised. I think Haas have enough pace over the 4 races to beat them. If Haas are going to beat them, they're going to have both drivers consistently doing well. And same for Renault in this battle. But guys, what do you think about Renault? Were you kind of surprised in a good way about Carlos Sainz's pace? And what do you think Renault can do for the final 4 races? And do you think they will hold on to 4th in the Constructors? F1 Enthusiasm, what happened with Nico? I simply don't get that. I haven't seen what the issue actually was. I will after this stream, though. Simon Craglan, Sainz has impressed me lately. He has actually been better than Hülkenberg. I think a point you pointed out in the watch-along, Simon, that Sainz, since the summer break, has been better. And he has. So, yeah, good to see from Carlos. Lack of development will cost them. That's on Ronan Brady. Yep, they brought their last upgrade at the previous race in Russia, so no more upgrades coming for Renault, but they're just going to have to try their best and wing it with what they have, I guess. Mikos Gaming TV, bye Vettel, congrats to Lewis Hamilton. Okay. Yep, congratulations to Lewis Hamilton. He's going to win the title, let's be honest. Right. Just going to make sure I include all your comments about Renault. John, midfield teams are the end of their budget and upgrades. Season, it's about holding on and getting what the race gives you. You're bang on with that. I think all the midfield teams have brought their last major upgrades for the remaining races. So it's about, as you said, just seeing what the race offers. Simon Cragland, I think Sauber will be the 4th fastest team next year. I'll remember that. Because that could be something to call back on if that is the case. Hashtag Seb Bottlejob, that's from DT Gaming. Niblo, yeah, Renault not looking forward to next season. I can understand why, mate. Halam899, do you think since Kimi won his championship in 2007, he is less hungry for F1? Yeah, I do. I think he is. I think he won the championship and thought, you know what, I've climbed the mountain. I'm done, really, in terms of really wanting to win that title. So he kind of settled and has settled on what he has achieved in his career, because before 2007 he was one of the top 3 drivers on the grid, without a doubt. Simon Cragland, Bottas hit him on lap 1. Or is he responding to someone else there? Okay. I agree with Simon, but maybe 5th, not 4th with Sauber. That's from Ronan Brady. I don't know what to think of Sauber for next year. I think right now I would say 6th or 7th to start off the season. And then from there, maybe climb up to 5th. We'll see. We'll have to see how Renault are, McLaren, Force India, Haas. They'll have a massive effect on that. Sergio Perez, Magnussen and Hulkenberg, I guess all the 3 are tied for best of the rest in the championship on 53 points. It's the more interesting championship, Formula 1.5. It's very, very close in that drivers' B-class battle that right there. It'd be great to see who's going to come out on top. I think it should be Perez who comes out on top, because he's driving the best out of those 3 and that his car is probably the best in the midfield right now. So, yeah, I'd have to say him. Joseph Brogger, I think that is. Why don't McLaren build their own engines? They could give it a try, but I don't think they would get it right, because they don't get anything right, McLaren. They would probably mess it up. Right, we'll move on, guys, from Renault and now go on to Force India, who in the race showed why all weekend up until that mess up in Q3 were clearly the best of the rest with both cars. Sergio Perez P7, very good drive and great pass on Romain Grosjean around the outside of the chicane to get P7. Esteban Ocon P9. He could have, I think, passed Grosjean, but he couldn't because he just wasn't fast enough when it mattered to get past. So I guess that's the best he really could have done at the time. But for Force India, a good race considering they started in P9 and P11 and they finished P7 and P9. So a gain of 2 positions for both cars respectively. Good points scored for Force India. And you know what? Going into the final 4 races, I think Force India have enough of a car to catch McLaren for P6 in the Constructors and should finish 2018 on a very strong note. But guys, what do you think about Force India? Do you think they'll end 2018 very well? And what did you think of their races? And what did you think of Sergio Perez's pass on Romain Grosjean around the outside at the final chicane? Let's see what you guys are saying. Spider Monkey, sorry. Force India 43 points in second half of the season. First half 57 points. Altogether 100 points by now, beating Renault if they did not change the ownership. I think though, the change of ownership has caused their good form because they couldn't bring any upgrades for the races just before they were bought out by Lawrence Stroll. They were struggling at Hungary and Germany, races like that, because they didn't have upgrades coming to the car. So I see what you mean, but I think the new ownership is helping. Simon Cragland, Perez overtook Grosjean under the virtual safety car. The virtual safety car delta is completely bleeped. Did he pass under the virtual safety car? I don't know if he did. I didn't know if he was. I don't know if it was under the virtual safety car or not because we saw a replay. We didn't actually see it live, so I don't know. Maybe Grosjean got caught out just as it was ending. I don't know. Couple people, saying that he did pass Grosjean under the virtual safety car. I'll have to look back and see if that's the case and then mention it in my race review tomorrow. If Ocon didn't get a penalty, he would be ahead of Perez in the standings. I think Ocon will be best of the rest in the standings by the end of the season. That's from JB. If Ocon had not had a penalty, he would have finished comfortably in P7 today because, he qualified P8 ahead of Sebastian Vettel. The Toro Rossos were getting passed quite quickly, so he would have passed them. So yeah, I think Ocon would have had a great race today and probably would be leading the B-Class Championship right now. Simon Cragland, on Danish television, they confirmed that, and they're talking about Haas the whole time. And Grosjean and Gunther Steiner confirmed it. Right, I'll look on their Twitter and see the quotes from Grosjean and Gunther Steiner, and if they say that, and I look back and that was the case, then, well, Force India got very lucky if that's been unpunished. John, Force India, all round good team to bad. They can't finish podium consistently. They shouldn't be expected to finish on the podium. They're still such a small team. When they do finish on the podium, it's so special because, again, they're so small in comparison to Renault, McLaren, Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull, and the list goes on. But right, we'll move on from Force India and now go on to Williams. Williams weren't as good in the race as I thought they would be. I thought they would be ahead of McLaren, but they weren't. And, well, had a mediocre race. But I do want to mention, though, even though Lance Stroll did get a penalty for pushing Fernando off the track, his pass around the outside in 130R, again, bravo, what a move. I don't know if he was defending or not, but to stay ahead, great move by Lance. Fully deserved to get ahead with a move like that, but of course, pushed Alonso off the track. I think Lance was a bit dopey in that sense, but that's racing. That happens a lot at those kind of chicanes where drivers move across and the driver behind just doesn't have the space to actually make it through the corner. But for Williams, not a great race, and go into the next Grand Prix where they are probably going to struggle, I think, more than they have this weekend at Suzuka. We'll move on from Williams because, as ever, we don't really talk about them. And go on to Toro Rosso. Disappointing for this home team and home engine supplier. They did not show up when required. Brendan Hartley was so slow in P13, was miles off the pace of the front of the midfield. Pierre Gasly was P11, just missed out on points because Carlos Sainz passed him at the end of the race. Toro Rosso just didn't have any race pace. I'm quite surprised because I thought Toro Rosso normally were good in the races, but they just seem to fall back and not really have any real raw pace like the Force India, like the Haas, like even the Renault of Carlos Sainz. I don't really know what to say about them. I think Sauber were even quicker than Toro Rosso in this Grand Prix. So very disappointing for Toro Rosso. But after this weekend, Honda and the team and Red Bull, from what they're seeing, from what Honda is doing, should still be enthusiastic because Honda are making clear progress, and I think now Honda have the third best engine on the grid. That is great news if it is absolutely the case, and that's confirmed in the next couple of races. I think that is the case, but we'll have to see how it performs in the US and Mexican Grand Prix. But again, even though they didn't score points, they should still be enthusiastic about this weekend. But guys, what do you think about Toro Rosso in this race? Were you disappointed, or did you expect them to be this slow, I guess? Halam899, do you think it's good signs for Red Bull? I think it is. They've developed massively in 2018. Just look at where they were in pre-season and in Australia. Yes, they weren't horrible, but they weren't really that good at all. Here at Suzuka, I think in qualifying, if you remove the bad luck and the good luck if you remove the bad luck for drivers like Magnussen, Leclerc and Sainz, and remove the good luck that Toro Rosso had, I think they probably had the 6th or 7th fastest car, which if you told me at the start of the season they would be that quick at Suzuka, I wouldn't have believed you, because I thought Honda coming into this season would continue to fail, but they haven't. Chazza got to go. Great reaction. Goodbye. Great to have you along as always, Spider Monkey. JB, I thought Hartley was quite pathetic in the race. Yeah, he wasn't great, was he? He fell back very fast at the start and actually ended up, I think, was it almost half a minute off points? That's not good. That really is not good. Mr. Miyagi, I think that is. Wonder what the power output of the Honda is versus the Renault right now. I think the Honda has more. I think the only thing holding Honda back, which I've noticed, is that they cannot sustain that level of power as much as maybe Renault can, or Ferrari can, or Mercedes can. They cannot sustain their power over long enough periods. That's something they have to work on. Warren M, Honda still have to adapt the engine for Red Bull's aero pressure next year, so it will take a while. Red Bull, though, I think they came out and said that whatever Honda want in terms of the dimensions of how they want to fit the power unit inside the car, they'll agree to, because I think Red Bull know that they have to work well with Honda. John, it's motorsport always would've, should've, or could've, and a big if. Noah, it's scary when a team switches engines after the McLaren fiasco. It is, because it's uncertainty, which I think is the thing that is scary, but sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. For example, McLaren with Renault hasn't worked. I'm trying to think of an example. When Sauber was bought out by BMW, going from Ferrari engines to a BMW works team clearly worked. So sometimes it does work, sometimes it doesn't. It's basically just a case of waiting and seeing what happens. But you know what, guys? We're going to move on from Toro Rosso and go on to our final two teams. First off, Haas. Romain Grosjean, I thought in the first stint was doing well up in, I think was it P6 for a long time in the Grand Prix. But then after putting the medium tyres on, compared to Force India with Perez on the soft tyres, again I'll have to look into whether Perez did pass under a virtual safety car. I'll have to look into that, but they just didn't have the pace on the medium tyres, which is quite surprising, because you would have thought that Haas, with the tyre wear... sorry guys, my throat's giving out. With the tyre wear issues, they normally have, say, on the softest compound, like a super soft tyre, you would have thought medium tyres would have helped balance the car out a bit more, but it didn't. It didn't. The Haas actually struggled more on the medium tyres than the softest soft tyres that they actually started on, which is quite a surprise. So Grosjean finishing P8 at least, Haas gain on Renault, I guess. But they could have gained, of course, more points, 2 extra points, which could have been, or could be, rather, very important at the end of 2018. But going on to Kevin Magnussen, what an idiot that guy is. Now, I'll support Magnussen because I think he gets unfairly criticised. I think K-Mag is underrated. I think he's had an underrated 2018. The first half of 2018 for him was great. But since the summer break, he has dropped off in terms of performance. And what he did today was so poor. Moving across so late on Charles Leclerc, then got a puncture. He absolutely deserved all the bad fortune he got after that. What he did was so poor. How did he possibly think that was going to go? Him moving across that late. You're always risking an accident when you move like that across the track. Why did he do that? I don't get it. He needs to calm down. He can be great sometimes when he is aggressive, but sometimes he can be just a total idiot. And that's what he was today. And if he wasn't a total idiot, he could have been in there scoring points and maybe contributed towards Haas finishing 4th in the Constructors. But no, he did what he did. But for Haas, I guess, you know, they're only competing against Renault at the moment in the Constructors. So I guess for Haas, mostly a good Grand Prix. Guys, what did you think of Haas? Did you think it was a good Grand Prix with Romain Grosjean? And what did you think of what K-Mag did to Charles Leclerc? Did you think, like me, it was idiotic? Or do you think maybe not as bad as I'm thinking? Put in the chat right now and I will take a look at what you have to say. Simon Cragland, I think he underestimated how close Leclerc was. Maybe he did, but he would have been surely looking in the mirrors all the time to see where Leclerc was, because surely he would have sensed that Charles Leclerc was right on his gearbox. So, as Annette says, great to see how coming along. It was dumb. It was so dumb. Lap 2 out of 53, and you're doing that. Like, come on. That's so poor. Simon Cragland, what do you think about Magnussen in general? In general, I think he's a great guy, great driver. Very fast, can be over-aggressive like today. Sometimes his aggressiveness does pay off. Yeah, I like him, but when he does things like this, I really don't have the time of day for him, I'm afraid. Amateur go-kart move, that's from John. Yeah, it was kind of a rookie move. Maybe Russia was on his mind. That's from Ronan Brady. He did the same thing kind of in Russia. He did move across quite aggressively there, but had enough space to not cause another accident. JB, I've never heard Chas this angry before. Don't worry, I've been angry before, or angrier before, with other things. But I am angry because he ruined his race, ruined Haas's race and maybe Constructors' Championship, and ruined Charles Leclerc's race, even though Leclerc retired eventually with a different issue. Crystal Racing Magnussen is challenging Grosjean for ultimate banter driver. Just looking for some comments just to make sure I haven't missed any. Nick says, unnecessary to defend this position so hard so early. absolutely agree with you, Nick. Niblo, it certainly has been angrier than this. Yeah, it has. It has. Right, just make sure I don't miss any comments about K-Mag. Niblo, how has he not got a penalty for what he did? Did he not get a penalty? What? How's that? How can you not get a penalty for that? Surely he come on, he must get a grid penalty. Nah, that can't, there's no way. Absolutely no way that he can get away with that. Surely. Right, I'm just going to read out a couple more and then I'll go on to the last team. Sauber came out, probably thought that Leclerc would stay on the outside. That's from Simon Cragland. Well, Leclerc was close enough to go down the inside because he had a great slipstream from the final chicane. So, I think that's why he covered the inside, because he knew that Charles Leclerc was going to try to go to the inside, but just did it way too late and too aggressive. JB, he didn't get a penalty. They said no further investigation. I'm going to move on before I explode. We'll go on to Sauber to end this race reaction. Sauber, when they weren't having accidents and going off the track, I think they had the pace to get into the points. With Charles Leclerc, he was looking good for a certain period of the race, but then went off at Degner 1 and 2 and retired from the race with some kind of issue which caused him to go off the track. Marcus Ericsson had quite a unusual race because he was at the back of the grid because, of course, he started at the back because he crashed in qualifying. At the restarting of the race behind the safety car, he crashed into the back of Charles Leclerc and lost a part of his front wing, but still finished in P12. So, quite a strange race there for Marcus. I certainly didn't see him finishing in P12 after having that issue. So, I guess with the damage he had, a good race. But for Sauber, they should have scored points. They had the pace to do so. Just look at practice. Look at Q1 and Q2. They had the pace, but they didn't deliver. Kind of like the team that is massively backing them, Ferrari. But guys, what did you think of Sauber? What did you think of Ericsson hitting the back of Charles Leclerc? I think Ericsson hit Leclerc, by the way, because cold tyres, cold brakes, and also he was caught out by how slow the pack was going. So, yeah. But guys, what did you think about that incident and Sauber's race? Let's see what you guys are saying about this. Simon Cragland. Ericsson was quite good, actually. Again, considering his damage, yeah. Simon Cragland Vasseur didn't want to talk with Danish television. He literally said, I will not talk about Magnussen. That's understandable. JB, I'm surprised Ericsson didn't get a penalty. He didn't deserve a penalty. It was just a racing incident, a very dopey moment from Ericsson. I don't think it was worth a penalty. Hello to official Cal Cubed. Just looking in the chat to make sure I cover everything about Sauber. I totally agree. K-Mag was an idiot. That's Simon Cragland just talking about Haas still. Still looking just to make sure you guys have anything to say about Sauber. Simon Cragland, Leclerc was really unlucky. Yeah, he kind of was. I think he would have been in there for a points finish if he didn't have his issue. He was quite fast in the Grand Prix. So I think was unfortunate for what happened to him, or what ended up happening to him. Did Verstappen get a penalty for his defending against Kimi at Spa in 2016? Did he get a penalty? No, I don't think he did. I think he got a talking to, though, by the people in the GPDA at the next drivers' meeting and from Charlie Whiting. I don't remember him getting a penalty, though. Right. I can't see anything really about Sauber. Ronan Brady didn't Vasseur want to get rid of Magnussen at Renault 2. I think I think maybe, yeah. Maybe they just don't have a great relationship. Maybe Frederic Vasseur just doesn't like K-Mag as a person. I don't know. But moving on from the teams and to the final subject of this race reaction, guys. Who is your driver of the day? Who is your driver of the day? I am going clearly for Daniel Ricciardo to go from P15 to P4 after those issues in qualifying and the emotions he let out after that reliability issue. After all of that stuff, what a drive. What a motivational drive as well, to just show that once you get your head down and you're determined to get a result, you can get it. And he was super determined to get up to P4, P5, and he got P4 very deservedly, very fast. Has to be good old Danny Rick. Let's see what you guys are saying. Annette, Ricciardo, not surprised considering you're Australian. Simon Cragland, Daniel Ricciardo for sure. Niblo, a cheeky honey badger. Ricciardo says Noah. John says Dan, so obviously Daniel Ricciardo. Simon Cragland, but driver of the weekend must be Hamilton for sure. Yep, I agree. JB says Daniel Ricciardo. Oh no, he doesn't. He says Kevin Magnussen easily. Oh, okay. Nick, I think, said Daniel Ricciardo. Let me just make sure of that. Did he say? Yes, Nick did say Daniel Ricciardo. Warren M actually did Verstappen lose points today on his licence. That puts him awfully close to 12 points in a race ban. I don't know. I'll have to check. But if he does, then yeah, it does put him close when it comes to penalty points. Ricciardo releasing his steam in this race. That's some Gin plus X99. Very good race pace from him, says Nick. I think it's Jignesh Solanki. Please do a review of the season and please add me in as well. We can do a season review at the end of the season maybe. Let's wait to the end of the season. There's still, 4 races to go until then. Ronan Brady, okay, thanks Simon. I think they offered him a contract. Oh, he's responding to someone else. Blessed you, says Ricardo. Simon Cragland says Q&A for the last 10 minutes. I'm not going to, because as I'll show in a minute, of course, on a Monday night I do have a dedicated time slot on a Monday after a race for Q&As. Noah, Red Bull has really strong drivers this season. I think the 2 drivers have been kind of up and down though, because Verstappen since Canada has been very good. But Ricciardo since Canada has not been that great. So, yeah. Yes, no, my voice is absolutely gone. For sure. Yeah, the 2 drivers have been good this season, but not consistently at the same time. Rest your voice, bro. Yep, I will in a minute. Just got to read out these final few driver of the days. Official Cal Cubed. I'm going to say Max, as he had closed the gap slowly during the race, but not enough to pass for second. Okay, he did drive well as well, despite his deserved penalty for the incident with Kimi Raikkonen. Just looking for a remaining comment about driver of the day. Noah, they are up and down, but they are still very competitive. Absolutely. But guys, you know what? I think now I am going to end this stream. But before I properly end the stream, I just need to let you guys know of what is coming up on the channel tomorrow in terms of content still to do with the Japanese Grand Prix. Tomorrow, this is what is going down. So between 4 and 5 PM UK time will be the race review for the Japanese Grand Prix. It's probably going to be about 15 minutes long. Just as long, basically, as the qualifying review. And then, live at 6 PM UK time, make sure you come along for a post-race Q&A where basically for about 45 minutes, you guys can come along and ask me questions and I will answer as many as I can in, 45 minutes, maybe to an hour, depends on how good it is. But, that's what I'm doing tomorrow, guys. But, that is it for this race reaction. And guys, as I just cleared my throat, thank you guys so much for this weekend. It has been absolutely fantastic. We've gained so many subscribers. We've had so many views. Thank you so much. We had 500 and I think 40 people watching the race watch along live. We've had about 300 at one point in this race reaction watching the live stream. So thank you guys so much. If you have not subscribed already, don't forget to either bottom right of the screen, click on the channel name or click on the link in the description that goes to my channel page. Let's try and get this channel going towards 2,000 subs. We are marching on in that sense. This time last week, we celebrated 1,000 subscribers, and now I believe we're almost or about at 1,200. So we've gained about 200 subs in a week. So again, guys, let's continue this and let's get towards 2,000. Hopefully, maybe, who knows, by the end of this month in October. As well, guys, don't forget to like this video, comment down below what you thought of this video, and comment down below what did you think of the incidents and teams and drivers in the Japanese Grand Prix of 2018. Don't forget to join our Discord server, link below in the description to join our wonderful community over there. We have about 73 or 74 people in that server, so if you want to join the community, then make sure you go over there and do so. And if you want the best way of getting notifications for my videos, Discord is the best way because the notification system on there is just better than YouTube or Twitter. So, going onto my Discord and getting into the server is a great thing if you want to be notified as to when my videos will be uploaded. As well, follow me on Twitter. Another great way to keep up to date with me and the channel in terms of exactly when I'm uploading, what I'm doing. Again, follow me on Twitter, link below at Chaz6110. And don't forget to check out my website, chazrhd.com, link below in the description. Another way to keep up to date with me on YouTube. But guys, thank you so much for the Japanese Grand Prix weekend. I will see you all tomorrow live for the post-race Q&A at 6 PM and for the race review between 4 and 5 PM UK time tomorrow. So until then, thank you guys again for what has been a great weekend for the channel in terms of growth. Hopefully the remaining few races can be the same. And until not those races, until the race review for the Japanese Grand Prix tomorrow afternoon, I will see all of you then. Thank you guys so much.